Yo, what's going on, gang? Listen, today I wanted to talk about the beta. Week 1 is officially over. We wrapped up week 1 today. We have week 2 starting not tomorrow, but the next day. It's going to start on the 6th, which is Friday. Same time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, so 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. I want to come out of the gate and just go ahead and let you know I really enjoyed beta. So maybe my review on it might be skewed, but I'm gonna try to keep it as fair as possible because I don't want to just be like, oh, it's the best ever. I want to be I want to keep it a buck. So for me personally, I feel like this was the most polished beta we've had in a very, very long time. I didn't experience many bugs. I had 2 dev errors. I had 2 dev errors through the entire beta. Compared to last year, the year before, the year before that, that's very minimal. Last year's beta was dev error city. And both dev errors occurred in the same spot on the same map. They're both on Skyline. There's the little deck kind of upstairs where you can look down at the pool. It's like that big rooftop, that back staircase that if you know, you know. But going down that staircase, I was sliding down it both times when I got dev errors. I don't know if that's a thing. When the first day the beta dropped, there was a huge bug. There was a massive bug I noticed off rip. The pool on Skyline, the glass, there's glass all in the pool. You would get caught on the glass. The very first day, I'm sure I have a gameplay of that somewhere, but you get caught on it. They fixed that before I could even begin to talk about it. Within 2 hours, that was fixed. I'm seeing a lot of things online though, a lot of complaints, and I'm starting to realize most complaints aren't the game's fault. It's the player's fault. It's equipment fault or whatever it may be. Everyone kept talking about lag through the beta. I streamed hours and hours of this beta. All of those streams are down below. If you go to my playlist, I have a stream VOD channel. It's all of my stream VODs from beta where you can go and rewatch all of my streams, and you'll see my ping never goes above 40. I never once had a game where I was lagging in the beta. Not one. I was getting good frames. Everything was phenomenal in terms of networking. The one thing I will say is a downside though, it did take forever to find games sometimes. Sometimes it took a hot minute to put us in a game. I can't really blame that on the game itself though. This is a beta. We're trying to work out the kinks. But that is something they need to look into, network issues and finding a match. Because sometimes we'd be sitting there for a hot minute. Or you'd have, 11 people. You'd have 12 people, one leave, have 11 people, and it wouldn't start the game because you're one short, I don't know if that's player count or how that matched up, but that was definitely something I noticed throughout the beta that really got under my skin. Omni movement, I'm a huge fan. I've talked about this on stream. I think I talked about in a video. I think Omni movement is really, really beneficial. It's useful. It picks the pace of the game up, which is huge. People got to remember, Call of Duty started off as a fast-paced arcadey shooter, and they're going back to that now. It's a little faster than what we know. But in the grand scheme of things, that's how games are nowadays. Games speed up. The only games we're playing slow nowadays are Battlefield, Rainbow Six Siege, Tarkov, more realistic than not. COD's not a realism shooter. We're not in this game for it to be realistic. We're in to run around and fry people, break cameras, have a good time. With that being said, with Omni movement, another huge complaint I'm seeing online, people are always going to find something to cling to, and right now they're clinging to controllers like scuffs. Oh, well, he's a scuff user, this and the other. There's always something. There's always going to be something, and you can say whatever you want. My example, when someone's like, oh, well, he's a scuff user, the best player in the world, in my opinion, is DS Biffle. He does not use a scuff. He doesn't use paddles. He uses a regular controller, a PS4 controller. It's crazy. Doesn't matter what controller you have, but if you are one of those people who you're getting thraxed, you want to play competitive, maybe you want to get more into the space, but you're oh, well, they have scuffs and I don't. Well, maybe save up and get a scuff. Seriously, put some money aside. They're not that expensive. It's really not that crazy. Even then, you don't have to get a name brand scuff. A perfect example of that is this controller right here. I do play with a scuff. but I have a couple of these laying around. These are Power A controllers I got at Walmart. I want to say they were $20, $19.99. They have paddles. They got paddles in the back. That's all they do. They got trigger stops, so you can adjust like the triggers where they don't go down that much, you know, whatever, or you can make them go down. And then they have 2 paddles. That's all you need. The Scuff I play on right here has 2 paddles. Just these 2 paddles. Nothing fancy on the triggers. This one doesn't even have trigger stops. I flip and shoot with the bumpers. So again, you know, people can say what they want, but I wouldn't blame hardware issues on like the game. For instance, in my comment section 3 weeks ago, I had someone freaking out about like a limited time mode in MW3, and they're like, this game lags so bad. It's like, okay, is like internet lag? Like, I asked, like, are you getting internet lag? He's like, no, the game's just clunky, it runs horrible. And I'm like, oh, like that's tough. Like, what are you playing on? He's like, the original Xbox One. Like that's a hardware issue. Like, they specifically announced they were gonna discontinue making games for the original Xbox, the original PS4, and then these contracts come in from these big companies. They're like, all right, we'll continue it. So it's like, if you're playing on those consoles and you complain about how the game runs, you need to upgrade. You know you need to upgrade, you just haven't yet. So it's not a game fault. They're not going to cater to you because you can't keep with the times. It's just how it is. So that's that. I'm just going to leave that out there. For all the complaints that have to deal with like internet lag, that's no chance. You got bad internet. Like, let's keep it real. You have bad internet. Or you keep in mind you're playing the beta, there weren't that many people. Whatever the case may be, I have hours of streams. I didn't lag once. You can go in my playlist down below. You can go to Stream VODs and watch every Black Ops 6 beta stream I did. You won't see a single game where I was lagging. My ping stayed low the entire time. I have pretty solid internet, nothing crazy. But still, I'm ruling that out. In terms of like network, I already talked about it. I think the only network problem was finding a match. It took forever to find a match. Not all the time, but if there were, 12 people, one person left, now there's 11 people, you just wouldn't find the game. That was super duper frustrating. Other than that, solid. We're solid so far. In terms of Omni movement, I really enjoy it. I don't think diving in Omni movement's as efficient as they spoke about, but there's a lot of really unique mechanics you can do with Omni movement that I was using personally that I really enjoyed. For instance, sliding, like going for like a traditional slide cancel, but instead of canceling the slide, you turn it into a drop shot. It's extremely fluid. Like fluent, just it moves. Like, I can't explain it. And from the time you hit the drop shot back up to your feet, it's very, very fast. That's going to be used a lot. The diving though, I don't see being super duper efficient in terms of like keeping the game pace flowing. On the topic of Omni movement, I did notice a couple things with Omni movement. I don't know if they're bugs though. That's the problem. I can't come on here and say like, oh, I think they're bugs. They could be. They maybe not. Essentially, what I noticed, if you were sliding into, let's say, a corner and you laid down, your character would like post up, kind of like hunched up, but laid down in the corner, and maybe like, let's say the wall's right here, you would lean in towards the wall. Like, that new lean feature would gravitate towards whatever you were prone by from the slide. It's like once you were prone and had the angle, he wouldn't like release that angle. You held that. It wasn't like dynamic where it would flip flop like based on the terrain around. I'm sure that's probably really tricky and finicky to work with, but that's something I noticed. Another thing I noticed, if you're playing hardpoint and you get to like a spot you want to be and you lay down and you try to back your character up, he wouldn't like turn around and like prop his back up against whatever. He would just stay down and you wouldn't get that like same effect where he had that really good range of motion at a more upright position. You were just kind of flat on the belly. So instead of like kind of pivoting to the wall, you just kind of stayed down. So that's something I would love to see them change. I don't know if that's how it was intended to be used. Again, I have no idea, but that's something I noticed with Omni movement. Map design, I was a big fan of. Their small maps. We haven't had small maps in a very long time. All the multiplayer maps have been very large. With that being said, these maps play really, really fast. Like, and that's the theme this year. They sped the game up. The game's very quick. So it's like you have to understand that we're not playing like a ton of ground war this year. Like we don't have these massive maps. Like they obviously made a new movement mechanic that they want to showcase and they want us to use and have fun with and play. Even AI movement that does all the crazy features for you without you doing anything on smaller maps. And I can get down behind that. If you're not a fan of that, again, that's not a game problem, that's a you problem because you're not a fan of it. Um, so I would say I don't want to say the maps are like the best I've seen, like definitely not. I like that they're very Treyarch themed. The spawns are horrible. I will say that. Like flat out the spawns were trash. The only map that had good spawns was D-Relic. And people were hating on that map. That was my favorite map from beta. Like super, that's a super unpopular opinion. The train map was my favorite map. Skyline was a great map, but the worst spawns I've ever seen in COD. Like the oh my god. And then Scud had some crazy spawns as well. But what do you expect from a beta? Like we're testing it so they can fix it for when the game releases. That's the whole reason we're playing right now. So I can't say and be like, game's trash, spawns are trash. We're playing it so they fix it, okay? Like that's whatever. So map design was pretty good. This was the first beta, I will say, in a very long time where we had a very broken meta. Everyone knows the PDW Jackal was extremely broken. An SMG that played like an AR 4-shot kill did not matter how far they were. That gun was very broken. With that being said, I had a lot of fun playing with other weapons, and I managed to do just fine, drop a lot of really high kill games using something like the C9 or the XM4, the AMES, the AK with a rapid fire mod. There were a lot of really viable options, but the Jackal was extremely broken. Your entire kill feed was nothing but that. That will be addressed for week 2. They will not let beta come out without having addressed the Jackal. It was a little disappointing though. I like going in beta and getting like the full diversity of weapons, but this one already had some like crazy balancing issues, which no big deal. It'll get worked out. And that really kind of wraps it up. I want to see some more field upgrades added. I know we're getting a pretty good amount of stuff added for week 2 of beta. We're also getting some new maps. I really like what they're doing with the strike maps. I think the strike maps are pretty solid. It's like a gunfight map. You can play at 6v6. I think they're adding gunfight in week 2 of beta. Regardless, the spawns were phenomenal on that map. They weren't too crazy. I had one scenario yesterday on Gala where I was watching the enemy team spawn from their spawn. My entire team was on the other side of the map. I was in their spawn, and I ended up getting like a 10 kill multi-kill. Something crazy, and like kept the streak going. But again, that it can be like shipment. Shipment's the same way. I've seen people spawn in shipment for 10 years now. So Nuketown, regardless, that's just a small map for you, you know? They're not always gonna have an obstacle to put them behind a spawn, especially if you're working it just right. So everything's looking up. Again, a big fan of it. Multiplayer was a smash hit. This is the best multiplayer Call of Duty's had since probably Black Ops 4. Yeah, I mean, Modern Warfare 2019 multiplayer was fun. Obviously, Warzone took the cake on that. We weren't playing that, but Black Ops 4 had like probably the best multiplayer gameplay experience we've had in a very long time. And this is near that. I mean, they did a really phenomenal job with multiplayer. Obviously, we're a Warzone channel. I mean, or Call of Duty, but Warzone's our bread and butter. So when it comes down to like Warzone content, I'm interested to see how it plays out, because to me it looked like Warzone was a lot slower tempo compared to multiplayer. I don't know if they were like nerfing the like overall sprint speeds on Omni movement or the slide speed. It just seemed a little more clunky, which Warzone's always been just a touch more clunky than multiplayer. So we'll see. There's no telling. But as for right now, very positive review, man. Really enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm curious to see what the gang thinks. If you've played it, I want to know what you think if you played it. If you haven't played it, I mean, say what you want, but you can't make the assumption until you feel how fluid the game actually is, because this game, it flows. Like when they called the new movement flow state, they weren't lying. Like the game is buttery. So if you haven't played it and you don't know what it feels like, just be courteous to that. But if you have played it, let me know what you think. I'm very interested to see and hear what you guys have to say about it. But that's all we got today. I hope y'all enjoyed, man. I know it's a long video. It's a lot of talking. But hey, we had to do it in one take. We had to take it in one take. That's how we do it. We don't do any cuts. We just go straight to it. Gang, if you're new to the channel, enjoy the content, man, make sure you check out the beta gameplay down below. Like, watch the VODs, any of the gameplay, whatever you want to watch, check it out. We absolutely had a blast, man. I'm excited for week 2. I'm excited to get live again with you guys week 2. But that's enough of that. Hit the sub, crush a like, catch you more for another heater. Let's get it, gang.